Hello, everyone. It is Felicia Bender, the practical numerologist. We are talking about personal years. So, personal year number 2, that is what we are going to get down into the nuts and bolts. I am not going to go over the personal year description in terms of what it actually is or how to calculate it. If you do not know that, please refer to the description box. I will have that information there. I just want to get right to it because I figure if you're here, you want to know about it because you know you're in it. So, or someone you love is in it. So we're going to talk about it. Okay. To personal year. This is what I like to look at it in terms of this is energy that we're experiencing. We don't have to believe in it or for it to be there or to I don't know, even understand it to be there. It's kind of like gravity, like cell phone reception, that sort of thing. It's there. And so if we know it's there, we can use the energy. It really is there to support us. It's there to offer us optimal opportunities for within some particular framework and particular themes. So that is what we're going to look at today. Usually we're feeling it anyway. Now, if we know what we're working with, we can really use it rather than let it use us, right? Rather than have expectations that don't fit within this. A lot of times people will be kind of beating their heads against a wall because just nothing's working in terms of whatever this is that they are doing. And yet, if you look at your personal year and you go, oh, no wonder, no wonder why it wasn't working, because it's not really supportive of the energy that I'm working with this year, the theme, the whole reason for the year. I just wasn't tapped in, really wasn't tuned into it. So, what we're going to look at is the optimal. We're going to look at what is supportive about the number 2, the energy of the number 2 for you this year, and also look at the challenge points that might come in. We're also going to take a look at the Master 11 2. You may be experiencing not just a 2 personal year, but also a master number 11. So we'll talk a little bit about that at the end. So what I like to do is frame it in terms of theme, and really look at the question. Like there's a primary question that we're being asked by the universe, and we're also asking ourselves internally. And so overarchingly, the 2 personal year is a time for a little rest. For goodness sake, after this 3-year transition cycle that you've been in, numerologically speaking, you've been in 3 years from your 8, the 9 into the 1 of last year for you. You're into the 2, which is, oh, thank God. Let me just breathe for a minute. Maybe I can take a nap. Something, but you're pretty exhausted at that point. A lot of transitions, a lot of transformation happening with those last 3 years. And so when this year rolls in, you can expect delays. You can expect a slower pace. You can expect feeling slower, right? Feeling like you're moving through things a little bit more slowly. And if you're not, you're really super frustrated. So it's the key themes here are patience, love in your relationship life, and also networking. Okay, so the primary question that I find comes into play for this year, for the 2 personal year, is how do I want to love and how do I want to be loved in return? So those are key themes, key factors that are driving you internally or externally in a 2 personal year. The goal here during the year is to clarify your emotional boundaries and to focus on love, on relationships. So the last 3 years have more or less been all about you, right? All about me, all about how do I get from here to there? I'm really being tested. Now this year is where you can kind of relax into that, give that a break, and it's more of an us time. So what about us? How do I focus on we rather than just me? So it very much is a slower year focused on true relationship development, and that has a myriad of of ways that it can show up. Basically, it can be in your intimate life, in your marriage. If you are married, maybe it is a year where you get married. That often will happen in a two. It might be where you have a child or experience a significant milestone in that way. That can be the marital home family aspect of the two personal year. It could also be where you're really learning how to do some self care, do some self love, do some pretty deep exploration into that, whether it's through therapy or through, reading, learning, that sort of thing. And it's also, in terms of business, an incredibly powerful year for networking, for true networking, not the terse little, I don't know, email or whatever. It's who do I really want on my team? Who is my tribe? What authentically really surrounds me with the people who with my squad who I really want to associate with and be around. So that is something that takes precedence in a two personal year. So again, slower year, really focused on true relationship development. In the bring it on category, in the most positive elements here, it's you've got some heightened sensitivity going on. That can be emotional, where you feel more emotionally sensitive, and that can be a blessing and a curse. So, up, down, and all around. It can also be about intuitive sensitivity. This is often a year where people really step into their intuitive gifts in a more dramatic way. It's about receptivity. How receptive are you to managing these subtle energies, right? And we can say that subtle energies have to do with emotional connection, emotional understanding, all the way down and up the line to spiritual revelations, right? And intuitive development on that level. It's about trusting in timing. I always say that the two personal year is a year of divine timing. It's almost like gestation. So I'm going to mix metaphors a little bit here. It's like you're gestating the pregnancy that you started last year in your one personal year, and you don't want to give birth before the full, let's in this context, the full 9-month gestation period. For you in your personal year cycle, it's a 12-month gestation period, more or less. I'm just using these overarching kind of metaphors to get our brains around it. So it's basically, you don't want to give birth before the baby is fully developed, right? Because it won't live, or there will be problems with that with the child. So it's the same sort of thought process about the patience, the resolve, a little of the discomfort that can come with late stage pregnancy. For all of those of you who have been pregnant, you know what I'm saying. So it's one of those things where it's like, when's the baby coming? Because I'm ready. So it's that sort of thing. If we also want to shift over the metaphors, it is like you planted seeds in your garden or in your field, in your farm, however you want to, again, think about that last year. And now you're being asked to cultivate them. So there will be times when you get to go out and weed and fertilize and make sure the watering is going okay. And maybe there's a couple plants who aren't doing well, who have to be, pulled and put in the compost, and the other ones who are flourishing get more room to expand out, right? It's that sort of idea of, you get to do those in little pockets and little flurries. And yet, what are you going to do when you're just kind of hanging out, right? And watching it grow. Well, that's when you get to focus on others. That's when you get to, again, cultivate your tribe. And that's when you get to do some deep inner work, some self work. For lack of a better term. I know there's a better term, but I just a lot of self reflection. And the two is always asking us, when we experience the energy of the two, to really understand who we are from the inside out. Any tendencies you might have to be a people pleaser, to meddle too much in other people's business, to give yourself away. Those are all going to be things that are going to be challenged. And I don't want to say challenged in a negative way at all. They're going to be offered up to you this year to be looked at and to be learned and to integrate this into part of your life growth, personal growth. So it is slow growth time, and it's patience development. It really, really is. If you are ready to attract the one, this is a year to do that. It's very much about that slower relationship focus. It's about establishing boundaries, healthy boundaries, and in all levels. I would strongly suggest going back to your Brene Brown library and take a look at Brene Brown. Go search it on YouTube and find some of her videos if you want to talk about and think about and be reminded about how important it is to create and establish healthy boundaries, and ways in which to do that, right? It's like, oh, it sounds really flippant and great to say that. Oh, just have boundaries. And yet, how do I do that, right? So this is a time where you can seek out those tools to create those, to understand where you might need some education and bolstering for that. It's about opening to healthy expressions of love rather than codependencies, rather than abusive relationships. And this is where we really just have to go back to trauma work, to all kinds of things that can bring us into healthier relationship dynamics. Again, any tools, the Gottman Institute, all kinds of resources that we can have access to specifically during a two personal year to help us with those issues. It's also about supporting others and taking responsibility for yourself. So that is in the what it's all about category. And now, if we can expect a few challenges, here are some of the challenges that we might expect: impatience, reactivity. It can be a little bit more self-focused. So we're going to attempt to kind of move out of that and have more harmony in terms of the giving and receiving. There can be feelings of intolerance there. On the you know on the teeter-totter side, there can be a lot of intuitive guidance during this year. For some people, that's a eureka and feels fantastic. For other people, that feels really scary and weird. So it depends on which side of the fence you're on, in terms of how that affects you and how you work with it during a two personal year. It can be a year where there is emotional indulgence, where there are people and instances that are going to teach you lessons about not being taken advantage of, not being walked on. There will be situations where you get to stand up for yourself in a healthy, dynamic way. It is a year where you get to work with either overgiving or undergiving and attempt to understand those elements of your behaviors and, I don't know, again, harmonize, balance it accordingly. If there's one word that is the number two, it's harmonize. Harmony, peacekeeping, balance, diplomacy, mediation. All of those are key concepts and key words for the two personal year. So there will be issues related to dependency. Are you feeling dependent and kind of sucked into that vortex? If so, there will be opportunities to look at that and deal with that accordingly. And it's also a time where you get some good lessons about interfering with others. So it's time to be helpful, be supportive, yet not take on everybody's stuff, right? Or you'll get to pay the price. So if we move into the 11-2 personal year, once again, look at the description below to see if this might apply to you. You can either have a 2 or an 11, which is a master number. The master numbers are those double digits. In this case, the double 1, which is the 11. That just adds a little bit of, I don't know, little bit of confusion. Opportunities, yes, and confusion to your personal year. And what I would highly suggest is to go and look at the number one personal year and kind of think about the energy around that and then double it and then lay it kind of in the petri dish of your two personal year, and it'll give you a better idea about the energy you're dealing with and why you might be feeling the way you are, right? Because it is a hurry up and wait year. It's about patience and love mixed with action. So patience, love, networking, and there's a dash of spiritual illumination that happens here whenever the 11 shows up. It is the number of spiritual illumination. So the question here, we're going to merge the questions that come in with both the one personal year and the two personal year. So it would be, how do I want to love and be loved in return? And how do I put higher ideals into practice? How do I make things happen, right? So there's two very discordant energies here. It's a resting year and an action year. It's an others year and it's a double me year. It is all about leadership and being bold and courageous and making things happen. And on the other hand, it's about that slow percolation, that patient waiting and right timing that needs to take place. So some people find that the 11-2 is a very intriguing year. Let's just put it that way. And some people, it just helps to know the numerology to know why you might be feeling a little nutsy sometimes, and maybe just feeling pushed and pulled, because you are being pushed and pulled. So the bring it on category is all about you. Oh my gosh, if you thought you were sensitive in a two personal year, just bring the 11 into it, and you are super super sensitive emotionally, psychically, and in every other way. It's This can be a time where there are really important projects that come in to be worked. Okay, it's again all about the trusting of the timing that comes with that. So you can't push things prematurely, but you also can't leave them languishing, right? So it's a really delicate balance. There's a lot of growth spurts that can come into play in an 11 year, and once again, the underlying theme is patience. So once again, just like in the two personal year, you can attract the one. You're being asked to establish those boundaries, and you're getting to know you. Both the one and the two are all about getting to know you, but in a very different way. The one is about asserting oneself. It's about really kind of aligning more successfully with your egoic self. And the two is about being yourself and yet being a support system for others and understanding others, being able to put yourself in other people's shoes. Without wearing those shoes home, is what I'll always say. So it's, again, a lot going on here. And so you can expect some impatience, a lot of bursts of creativity, high intuition. There's that self focus mixed with wanting to do it all for others. So it can be a little bit, a little about that. It can be a fame and fortune year. With an 11 in play. There can be, again, emotional indulgence, lessons in not being taken advantage of, situations that come in full force where you're being really asked to stand up for yourself, right? To refine and define yourself, and to not be too self-oriented, but not be a pushover, right? It's going to be a time where your sense of independence and dependencies are also being tested, and where your interfering in a non-healthy way will have more heightened ramifications. So, to conclude with that, the two personal year: patience, rest, relationships, right timing. The 11-2, it's a double one on top of that two. It has some more spiritual energy, for lack of a better term. And what I will always say is that there is so much going on in an 11-2 personal year that it will what should I say? The ramifications won't really become clear for a while, like maybe 6 months, a year, even a little farther down the line. You'll be able to reflect back and go, oh, wow, I had no concept or what was really going on then. And now look at where that incident got me. So it's going to have that kind of effect on you. So enjoy your too personal year.